Hey everyone, thank you again for joining us again on La Mesa Blanca podcast. On today's panel, we have Emily. Hey Emily.
Hi.
Rah rah. And we have La Rubia.
Hello.
I hope everyone's having a beautiful and blessed day today, wherever you're catching this podcast on. Hopefully it's on YouTube, and hopefully you guys like, subscribed, and commented for what is you guys wanted. What is it that you guys wanted to see us talk about? And recently, actually, thanks to the production crew, thanks to Veronica and Jenny, of course, we created a reel asking you guys, what is it that you guys want us to talk about? And we got some responses back. So, for the next like 3 episodes, hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to be talking about a couple of things that you guys wanted to hear about. And one of that I thought was very interesting was, how can you know if you have luases or seres or that you need, I'm tired, and or that you need to get initiated. So I kind of wanted to bring that up to that panel. I was gonna first ask on your personal journey, and then from there give advice to those out there if those are feeling like, hey, do I need to get initiated? Do I have loas? Do I have seres? So I'll start with you, Emily. What was the not the purpose, but what was the call like for you, and how did you know that you had loases, and or that you needed to or wanted to get initiated?
Um, that was actually it was actually a long journey. The first time that I found out I had losses to begin with, or any sort of connection at all, I was 13, and Candelo himself at a party told me, "You, me, we're a thing." And I was like, "Okay, like I don't know what that means. Cool, like you're my dad."
Was it here
Son of-
in New York
It
or?
was here in New York, in
So
the
cool.
Bronx. I went
Shout
with,
out to the Bronx.
yeah, family took me, and I met him for the first time. I was very called to him. Like, he was sitting in a corner, and I was very called to him, and I'm like, who's this man? Like, why is he dressed like that? Like, what's going on?
I'm curious too. Was he mounted by a man at the time, or
He
was
was
it?
mounted by a man.
That's so cool.
He
Okay,
was
okay.
mounted by a man, and he was sitting in the corner, and he was like overly dressed, like very, like just very nice, red cape, like very nice. And I was like, well, I wasn't supposed to be in the room. I was supposed to be in the room with the coats with all the other kids, but
One of those
obviously
parties.
that's boring. So I went out into like the main area, and there was like the altar was a mani,
Okay.
and there was the man was sitting in the corner, and I kept looking at him, and he like called me over, and he's like, "Tu ven," and I'm just like, okay, I'm not supposed to talk to strangers, but like, cool. And he was like, tú eres hija mía, yo soy, yo soy Candelo, whatever. I was like, okay, cool. Moving forward from that, like, he actually was very present in my life without me even realizing, without divulging too much of like personal life. But let's just say that there was a lot of men named Carlos in like parental figure lands for me, and for some reason all these men were devotees of San Carlos, and it was just always kind of like he's a fixture, he's there, and I know he is. And for years up until I met my wife, like, he was the fixture for me. And she when I met her, that was like the first thing she said to me. She said, "Oh, like, tú eres hija de misterio." And I'm like, "Mind your business. Who, like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about?"
Lose.
And she just saw that, and I was like, "Okay, like, whatever." And that became like, she slowly pulled me in. And fast forward, or like backtrack to 6 years ago, to our first feast that we went to with you. That
St.
was the
Michael's Feast.
St. Michael's feast, like 6 years ago. I I asked. I just simply asked. I said, "Hey." Actually, it wasn't even St. Michael's feast that I asked. It was the second feast that we had gone to. We
Also, was
went to St.
Candelo.
Michael's, so Candelo's feast. I was so happy to be there. It was our second feast, and just everything that was happening, and just being a part of it all. I just felt like I'm home. Like, this is it for me.
Very aligned.
Like, it just felt right. And so when Candelo came, and I went up to him, and I was like, "Papa, yo me quiero bautizar." And he was like, "Great, I was just waiting for you to decide." Like, it had to be your decision. Needless to say, and we've had this conversation, I had no idea what that entailed. To me, it was kind of like, when you go to Catholic church and you get baptized in Catholic church, and then you're baptized and then you just go to church.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought I was just gonna get baptized and then go to like the center,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like, I didn't realize that it entailed all these other beautiful things and blessings and like community and all. I just thought I'd get baptized and I'd get to see spirit, and that was it.
And that's so interesting too. And I don't mean to like not backtrack, but what is it called when you are when you like talk about another topic? I don't know what it's called, but
Segue.
yeah, I don't mean to segue or whatever. But it's so interesting because I always find that interesting when it comes to Christianity or Catholicism. Like a lot of people say they're Christians and Catholic, but how many people are actually practicing what is it that's going on in the church? Similar to what you said, versus like people don't realize that in 21 division. I'm not saying that there are those that don't practice, but at least in our house we hold it wholeheartedly that like we practice what is it that we preach, and we try to do that for the
Yeah.
community. So, but let me cut you off. Go ahead.
Um, yeah,
So you asked
you,
him.
you cut me off and then I
I'm
lost you.
sorry. Sorry. So you
No, so
asked
I
him.
asked him and he said yes, and then from there the journey started, and we went through our process and we kept coming, and I'm not and I'm sure I'm not the only person that thought this, even though I knew that I had a connection to Candelo, and there were other spirits that I had like interest in and like I was very intrigued by. This, the very first half of my journey I questioned a lot of like, do I have misterios, do I have laws, like how do I know like do I belong here, and like when are they gonna pop up because I don't know like who they are, or and I think that's something we all go through, like a lot of people, if you specifically don't know that you have them from when you're young, right? Because you have the people who grow up and they just know,
Yeah.
right? They've been in this and it's just known. And then you have
It's
people like
lineage.
me, yeah. You have people like me who have been so far removed from the practice that we don't know. And so we grew up questioning it. And so little by little through the journey, I did learn like, you have them,
Yeah.
but they kind of pop up.
And I think you bring up a great point too. 'Cause I think for a lot of people out there, it could be hard for them because they question, and they're like, even that question alone, like, do I have luases? Should I get initiated? I think it's a normal question. I'm not saying it's not. It's one that I think that everyone asks. If I think back on my journey, I think I've asked myself the same. Same thing though. I come from a lineage of it, nonetheless. But I ask myself the same because I look at my other family members, and none of them really practice. My grandma practiced, and I practiced, but I have 21 other cousins. But I think that's a very point, is what I'm saying, is that question. And why do we question it? Like, no one questions God. No one questions Christianity. Like, or like, again, and the reason why I keep bringing up Christianity is because a lot of us in 21 Division were baptized in the Catholic Church, and we're very Catholic still to today, traditionally. So I'm saying, like, we don't question, like, are we Catholic? No, we're like, we know we're Catholic. We know God walks with us. But why do we question if God walks with us? And I feel like that's something that our um, whether you want to call it suppressors, colonizers, whatever you want to call it, I feel like that's a question that they put upon us because they don't want us to know our power, you know? So I think that's a great point, what you bring up too. But I also want to go into La Rubia a little bit. I'm going to go back to you too. Um, what was, I remember us having an episode about the call, but necessarily what was when you knew that you had losses that walked with you, or that you wanted to, you knew you needed to get initiated?
That was, and if you guys go back to the other episode, I won't get into like the complete spiritual journey, but I want to say when I was 17, I had already had instances in my life where I was going through, you can call them problems, right, of a 17-year-old. And and I was in DR. I was with somebody similar to you, Emily, where I was with someone, but it wasn't at a party. I was at somebody's house. They were just recently initiated, and they were constantly working. Que estaba
Miderio.
montado, yeah. And the girl pulled me in, and los sere, they had me sitting with her, and they were talking to me there, and they were telling me, you need this. So for me, it was not so much me questioning because I was raised in it or that I felt that I had lineage. So complete opposite. They were like, you need this. You need to have this. You need our protection. You need to get initiated, and one day you'll come back to me and you'll give me thanks, because they were the ones that kind of like jump started it. And I took it obviously seriously, but I didn't understand, I guess, at that point, the gravity. And then I guess the curiosity from that point on kept me going and kept me understanding. And I was very spiritual at that point. So it wasn't that I didn't believe in spiritism, or I didn't believe in spirits, or higher power and stuff like that. I think that it was just more so this was another chapter added on, where I was like, okay, well, now I really need to understand this. And I was, exposed to it, but I didn't know I had it until that point. And I don't think I had it. I think it was given to me for a reason.
Amen.
Yeah.
And this is very interesting, I guess, when you look at our panel today. I'm saying, because obviously we're saying for you it was for protection. For me, it was through lineage. And then for you, what did we say it was for?
I don't know. It was just there.
was just
It
there.
literally was just there and dormant, I guess. And then I've asked my mom and my grandma since, and I'm like, where does this come from? Because I never saw any of you. And then it turns out that it is. Like my great grandmother on my mom's paternal side practiced, her brother practiced. And so I do come from a lineage. It was just, you know how it is.
You're reconnecting it.
I'm reconnecting it. It was lost at some point. And, it's one of those like lo que se sabe no se pregunta.
Yeah.
We don't talk about this at all. Like it just is what it is. And if you know it, you know it. Right. If you know it, you know it. And if you don't, then keep it moving, So it's more like a rekindling of my lineage, like a reawakening.
Yeah, no, and I find it very interesting in general. Again, all three different stories. So for me, it was definitely a lineage thing, which is where the whole word papa boko comes in. So vocabulary wise, papa boko is another term used not only in Haiti but also in the DR. It is different depending on like the house or where you're at. People could use papa boko, and usually it has a bad terminology because that means that you know how to work the dark arts and the white arts. But and is that true? It can be. They do teach you the dark arts, not to do dark, but to teach you how to fight off the dark, if that makes sense. But Bababoko originally meant that you come from a lineage, so you don't have to, per se, get initiated. There's another form of initiation that happens because you already come from the lineage. So that was my story, and you guys already know my story. But it's a very interesting topic, and I think that one of the things I would recommend, it's interesting because on the table today, I don't know if you guys can see it, but on the table today we have St. Clair and St. Lucy, and we have a goblet of water with an egg white and a candle, right? And I think that for many people, there are two spirits that usually people tend to use to in the beginning of the journey. It will either be one of these two, St. Lucy or St. Clair, or it will be St. Anthony. A lot of people tend to ask Papa Legba to lead them, right, to guide them to a house, to a place. Because similar when you heard La Rubia story, it's about feeling at home. And as what you said too about your story right now currently, because you must feel at home wherever you're in. You can't just jump into a place just because you have the funds or the means to. You have to feel at home and try it out. Don't go to one consultation. Don't go to one gathering. Go to multiple. Spend a year there if you can. And really immerse yourself in the house, because you are going to get adopted by the house and become part of the family. Yeah. So it's important that you understand that this is a connection that's a lifetime. Even if you leave,
you're forever connected. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're forever connected.
Yeah, especially once you're doing like a process, like once you start, right? Because people are like, oh, if I just come and then I go, it's fine. But once you're starting initiation in a house, or once you're constantly connected to these people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I would also say that you don't stop at initiation. So it's not like you'll get baptized and then you go away. Mm-hmm. Like you actually have to continue to go back and learn, and you're constantly evolving from that point forward.
It's definitely the apprenticeship. It's the aplazamiento portion of it, which usually I say in our house at least takes about 7 years, right? To really understand it a little more on the craft, and that way you could kind of walk it. But nonetheless, if you are sitting here listening to this podcast and you're asking yourself, do I have? I want you to do this service that I just said that was in front of us. Put a goblet of water with an egg white. Put a candle next to it. Leave it there for 5 days. This is an obra espiritual. This is a service that we do for St. Clair, for she could illuminate our way, and give us a little bit of clarity. ask St. Clair, ask your guardian angel, most importantly, ask your ancestors. Please do not forget about your ancestors to guide you to the right place, the right person, because basically you're integrating a family together. So you are basically marrying a family. Your ancestors are marrying my ancestors if you become part of this house and we become one family. So it's important that you ask them for that guidance as well. But sit there, meditate, and pray and wait. Patience. They're not going to answer you one day to the next. In one of the stories, I think that you guys are going to hear next year of someone that just received Santohood, we were talking about, me and this person, that I wanted to get into Santeria or initiated to receive my guerreros, X, Y, and Z, because something that I always thought was in my life path. And something that my grandma told me I had to do, and a bunch of people told me I had to do, a bunch of babalaos told me I had to do. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Until finally my ancestors came to me and said, no, this is not for you. Stay with Espiritismo for now. We'll tell you when it's time. So again, don't rush this process. Take your time with it. And it's okay to question, right? I think that it's not a factor that you're losing faith within questioning. I think it's important to question. And I always say this story all the time because I think it's important. Jesus, there was a moment where he fell to his knees, right, in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he said, hey, I'm having a moment right now. I'm losing faith right now. I need guidance right now. I'm asking God for that guidance. So it's okay to ask. Please ask. Ask yourself, ask God, ask your angel. But wait for the response. They're not going to answer you when you want. They're going to answer you when it's time. So what advice would you give those who are asking themselves right now, do I have Loa? Do I have or should I get initiated? We love
So
everybody.
advice.
Yeah.
First things first, right? Because a lot of people, once they find out that, like, oh, I have laws, they want to know, like, all the laws and who's walking with them, and like they need all this information all at once, right? And again, and we've said this so many times in all the episodes and any conversation we've ever had, is that the beauty of this all is the journey. And in part of the journey is like in discovering who does walk with you and who doesn't, right? Like we're 6 years in, or I'm 6 years in, and I am still just now discovering new laws
Yeah.
where I'm like, oh,
No one knows all the laws.
right. Like
Nobody.
nobody knows like all the laws. Nobody knows your entire court. Like you'll never know. A lot of the times, a law will be like, yes, I walk with you or I'm in your court, but you're never gonna see me again until like 30 years. Like
Do you
it's
need
just
me?
what it is. And so just understanding that that's just it. That's part of the process. Is that's why they're called misterios, is because we're not supposed to know. And if you walk into this, don't. And I'm sorry, I know you have a thought, but
No,
just
I
want
don't
to
have a
finish.
thought. But go ahead, finish.
So if you walk into this knowing, I feel like a lot of people walk into this wanting to know what they have and who they, instead of like walking into this just for the act of
Yeah.
the practice itself, and honoring the spirits and honoring, and being a good espiritista. That should be the focus, not who your laws are and what you can do with them and what traits they, like it shouldn't be about that.
Okay, so that was my question because I was trying to figure out because I was like, but because my main question was I think was like, what advice would you give someone that doesn't know anything about it? But I think that you answered it in the ending. Basically, what you're saying, for like, let's say if someone doesn't know nothing about the practice, is what I'm saying. Because I feel like you were throwing a lot of good vocabulary out there, but like if they don't know nothing about it, but you brought it up in the ending, so I was like, okay, cool. Now I understand what you're saying. Is the fact that basically what you're trying to say is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's not about what you could gain from it. It's not about what you could do with it. It's about just being of service and letting them
Guide you in
guide you
that.
into
Yeah.
it for people. So if you are starting the journey or trying to start the journey, don't start it to gain things.
Right.
Okay. Luz. La Rubia, for you, what advice would you give to someone who is starting the journey and wants to know if they have luases or they should get initiated?
Oh, that's so for me, it was obviously if you're invited into a space and you don't feel comfortable, don't enter. But if you do feel comfortable, go in open arms, go in with an open heart, listen. And that's what happened to me. I went in with a open heart, open mind, and I listened to the person that was talking to me, to the loi that was talking to me. And and take it serious. So if they're telling
Yeah.
you, something, and I feel like a lot of times you meet, every Loa has their own personality, and
Yeah.
sometimes you meet a Loa that is very much of a jokester, and you have to understand that that's how they work.
Yeah.
So take it seriously, even if they're saying it in a joking way. Take it very seriously that that's something, a message for you. So it's important for you to take everything serious that's in front of you. But then there's some people that might take things a little bit too seriously. Let's see, what's a good example?
Well, I mean, as far as like too serious and not serious, is that they take it so serious that I say this word, and it's not a serious word, but I call it spiritual constipation, where I'm like focusing guys, and they're focusing so hard that they have like their eyes closed and they're clenched and their jaw, and they're like like they're constipated. And that's why I call it spiritual constipation, because I kind of feel like, no, relax. When we're saying focus into something, focus in or tune into an energy, because let's say when we're on a mesa or on a misa or in a fiesta, and we're saying, hey, the energy's not here yet because people are focusing about other energies. Some people take it too seriously and they try to really hone it in, and other people are like still la-di-da-di. So it's about finding that balance. And I think that you bring up a great point though, because it's like, I feel like humans think, and maybe it's a generational thing, because I think it has changed during the generations. Like when your generation of spirituality, which is similar to the one that obviously I grew up in too, it was if the viejo or if a spirit said something, it was done.
Yep.
It was Bible, right? Versus now, I feel like people are just looking for sometimes even a spiritual therapist, someone just to talk to, and then like if you go to a doctor and a doctor's telling you, hey, you got to do this and this and this in order to feel better or do better, then you follow it. But lately, I feel like when you go to an espiritista or to a brujo or to whatever have you, someone that reads, they go, hey, you have to do this and this, you have to do this baño, you have to do this service, you have to do this limpieza, you have to, and then they forget about it, or they don't do it, or they don't take it as serious. So to your extent, to your example, I think it's important too to take this seriously. If you guys are looking for guidance and help, follow what it is that the spirit is telling you. As you were saying.
And if you do forget and you don't follow, know that at some point you'll need to. At some point. You're forgetting and you're not following, maybe for a reason. Maybe you're spiritually too immature. Maybe you are blocked. Maybe you're just not organized. It could be just like a multitude of things.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you should take this seriously. But then there's the other side of it, which is fanaticism.
Fanaticism.
Yeah, so don't be a fanatic either.
Oh, that's a big one.
There is that side of the equation that we didn't necessarily touch on. And there's some people where they're taking everything so literal, so to the Bible, so to the extreme that they're ignoring their whole entire life. Please don't ignore your life.
Yeah.
The whole purpose is to augment your life, not to erase your life and only submerge yourself into spirituality.
For sure.
You know,
It's not for everyone to do.
no.
Like, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm like, but like we have nuns, like in the Catholic Church again, or monks who are Buddhists. They sacrifice, and it was for in their journey, in their scripture before they came here on earth, to be those monks, to give themselves. But and not everyone, I don't think we are nuns here. But that would be a great episode. But I don't think we are nun-like or monk-like. We try to be, but it's not for everyone. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, so I just don't hurt yourself in the process.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I don't want to steer away from the conversation, but
No, yeah.
that is that's my take on it.
Amen. Thank you, Luz. So yeah, I think that overall my take on it again, if you're starting this journey and if you're asking yourself or questioning those things, again, that's the first step, is to question. But the second step, I think, is to submit. So to kind of gather on what both you guys said, and I always say this during my readings whenever someone is starting or trying to start, I give them a whole obra to help them submit to God's will, right? Because you have to say, okay, God, I am ready. I am letting you handle whatever it is that you want me to do here. Guide me, though. And allow yourself to be guided. Like when you're in school, right? The teacher's the one that teaches you A, B, and C. When you're in work, your boss, hopefully, or the trainer is the one that hopefully trains you how to do the work. But then in spirituality, everyone just wants to jump from getting a reading to having a whole altar set up, without realizing that it's, again, allow time to develop. And as La Rubia said, allow your life to develop. They intertwine together. Similar to that staff that I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have seen, the San Rafael staff, the Saint Raphael staff, the medical staff.
Yeah.
Right, with the two serpents, right? Going up the staff, which for us is Dambala y Aida Wedo, right? They intertwine together, life and spirituality. You cannot focus on one or the other because you get lost in the sauce. But pray. So the first step, I think all of us can agree on, is pray. If there's a service, again, that I would recommend, and I'm going to ask both of you guys what service maybe you guys recommend. But for me, if you're starting the journey, a goblet of water, an egg white, and a candle. For me, in honor of St. Clair, in honor of St. Lucy, reason why I like those two is because those two spirits in 21 division in particular help with sight, help with vision, help with clairvoyancy, and help with you start to desarrollar. I don't know what that word is in English. Can you not say this?
Develop.
Yeah, sure. Develop spiritually. What is the service that you say? Unravel. That's the word. Unravel.
Unravel. I would say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Arubia.
I'm sorry. I just got a vision of to your point on like how to help desarrollar.
Gracias, misericordia.
And everything that I just said in the first like 30 minutes is a lie. So like the first time, so this is like the first time I actually did have an experience which was I can't believe that I forgot about this, and it was you mentioning of the desarrollar, el método de cómo desarrollar with putting like a glass of water. It was at a my aunt took me to a place because again I was having problems. So this was even younger. I think I was 16, and I went into her altar who had life statues, and she said, pick one. Which one is the one? And she pointed to one for me, and then I said, no, I really like her, and which was a different saint. And then she was like, okay, we'll buy this one, but she said you need to help desarrollar. And she told me 3 cups of water under your bed, where you lay your head at night. And for 3 nights in a row, you're going to pray Our Father and a Hail Mary to help open up your senses.
Amen.
And that's what helped me.
So is that a service that you would say to others?
Yes, that is a service that I'll tell everybody.
Cool. So that's a service from La Rubia. Emily, Luz. Gracias, misericordia.
And I'm sorry to cut you.
No,
It's okay, Luz. Luz.
Don't need to say it too.
No, you don't need to say it.
I felt left out.
No, it's fine.
So the cup of water with the egg, obviously to St. Clair, just for like clarity. Me personally, I asked my ancestors, and I've told you the story of like when we first went to your house, I didn't want to go because like Sandra met you online, stranger danger. But
be careful, guys. Be careful whose house you're going to, right? Like, don't go to someone's house because they, obviously her wife and me met prior, and then But I'm just saying, don't go to people's houses. Right. Yeah.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
But I very strong connection with my grandfather, and I asked him for guidance. And truthfully, in this whole entire process, I've asked him for guidance. So I think if the very first step, and we've said this before too, is like talking to your ancestors. They will, if you have a connection with them, they will guide you to the right place. And I asked him, like, guide me somewhere. And I remember I told you, like, when I met you for the first time, like, he was very present, even in like the way, like the smells and everything. And when you introduced me your name, and I was like, okay, like, this is a place to be. And then when I was going to make the decision to move forward, I asked as well. So for some people, the service isn't. For others, that connection with your ancestors is so strong that they can guide you. And you didn't
necessarily put a service. You're just saying through prayer.
Through prayer. I was just like, hey, like, every other time in my life, you've guided me to the right places or kept me from like danger. In this moment, is this place a safe place? And can I continue in this place? And every time I wanted to be sure that I was going down the right path, him and his mom would be the ones that would tell me like, aquí es. Like,
se me explicó
esta gente son, esta casa es, this is good. So if you have that connection, which I encourage everyone to build it, period,
Yeah, it's
then
important.
use it, you know?
Yeah. And I last thing I want to say before I end today's episode is I keep getting this download. So now we're focusing more on vocabulary words that can be more creolized. It sounds better in Spanish.
I'm not going to correct you because that just doesn't even sound
It's basically Creole words, right? But there's a Spanish word that sounds better than English.
Say it in Spanish.
Yeah. No, not criollo, but like it's just no.
I thought when he said Creole, I thought food.
No, Creole, the Creole words in Haiti, so Creoleized. Anyways, my point is that we using loi, right? But back then they used to use seres, right? And we use it interchangeably, seres. But what does the word seres translate to in English? I'm hoping so. Seres, to me, always translate to the ancestors. Seres, those who came before us. Is there a particular word that you guys? Beings.
Not like habichuelas beans, but like
Yeah,
beans.
not habichuela beings, like the beings, beams, spirits,
Beings.
like
human
human beings.
Yes, there you go.
Okay, so but the download I keep getting is this one. Everyone has seres, everyone has ancestors. So if you're asking yourself if you have loas, you do, because you have ancestors. The loases, a lot of them are ancestors. Now, of course, does it depend on what ancestors you have? Yes, right? But whether you want to call it loa, whether you want to call it ancestor, whether you want it to call ser, whether you want it to call orisha, whether you want it to call commissioned spirits, they're all the same things in the sense. And I don't need no one coming out and attacking me like, no, they're different. These are gods. These are beings. These are ancestors. What I'm trying to say is that they're all cosmic. They are all cosmic energy, right? Of our antepasados, of our ancestors. So if you are sitting here asking yourself, do I have loases? Yes, you have seres. So speak to your seres, speak to your ancestors, not the ones maybe that seem so far off, the ones that are closer to, the ones you know. Exactly. So I guess with that being said, I'm going to close today's episode. Paz y justicia,
Amor y caridad.
luz y progreso y
gracia
gracia a la
a la
misericordia.
misericordia.
Amen.